people aren't capable of being alone with their own minds for that long of a period of time.
Nope.
After 2 or 3 days, like, dude, the shit that starts to come up, I'm talking like exes you broke up with 15 years ago, shit that happened in your childhood, like, and you just instantly, you will start coming up with excuses that like, oh, I'm being selfish and my family needs me home. And you'll like come up with any, and I know because I've done it. Like I've gone home early and then driving home, it's like acid in the back of the throat. You're like, you piece of shit. Nobody gives a shit if you're gone. You gave up because you couldn't hack it out there.
Welcome to Muttering Pines, the show where us city folk try to cowpoke. We drink beer, talk about ATVs, life outside the city, homesteading, entrepreneurship, and ultimately trying to do stuff with our hands. Hello, boys. Matt is giving us the finger.
It's
what a way to start.
Hi.
Well, it's 1 week until spring trip, so I'm pretty excited. So I'm happy to see fingers up.
And not
spring
in.
Trip's my favorite.
Oh, that'll be later in the week.
Yeah. You just got out to your place though, right?
That's right. And I set up a trail cam finally, and it was one that you gave to me for my birthday, which we're coming up on a year on. And so I set it up, pointed at the tree stand that a more capable hunter left on the property that I purchased that was up there. So that's good, because more capable hunters are how we become more capable hunters.
What did you see on your trail cam?
So far, the top of my head, and I think for a little while, if the trees move too much, the sensitivity on the camera would trigger the photo. So exactly as many animals as I usually see when I'm hunting.
Do you think if one of the pictures is the top of your head, you might have it aimed a bit high to catch any actual animals?
I absolutely have that camera too high, and I'm going
They're all just walking underneath it.
Yeah.
So
they are, and they're triggering it, and I'm taking no pictures of them.
Your skill set is showing even in photography.
Terrible shot in all media. Terrible.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can learn something today, because we have a guest on, someone I think probably knows vastly more information just generally, if not related to hunting, than we do, and who has a fairly robust following, both on YouTube and Instagram.
I wonder what that's like. It must be nice.
What is that like? One day we'll find out. We have Jay Nichol on, who's the mindful hunter. He's going to be joining us to hopefully teach us something, and maybe the people listening.
As long as they don't listen to us, that's no problem.
As long as they got through however long I cut this intro down to, they will possibly learn something, which I'm actually excited for. This guy's does real world bananas shit, like huge sheep hunts, and he's a bodybuilder and all sorts of cool stuff.
He can walk up and down mountains without dying.
Yeah, and most of us can't walk up and down flat land.
Yeah.
He brined a fucking bear ham.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, we should talk to him about that.
Yeah, well, you might be able to, because he's on right now. So we should probably just oh shit, no, before we let him in. We've vastly done this wrong. Cheers. I'm the only one who had a can.
Oh,
what are you drinking, Matt?
Bamboo. Straight up.
Bamboo's a rum?
Bamboo's a rum. It tastes like flavored rum, which when you have real good rum, it tastes terrible, but this is actually quite drinkable.
Scott?
I've annexed subtle rice lager.
I love it.
Giant Pabst.
Paps.
And I will get into the Pilsner, but right now I've got the latest batch of mead, the lemon berry kind, and I think it's testing in around 15%. So we'll see if I actually make it through this fucking thing or not.
All right.
Let's not keep our guest waiting. All right. So Jay Nichol, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It's a pretty busy day. I just threw together a giant trampoline in about record time in about an hour and a half in my backyard. So then I kind of gapped and I started making a steak, and then my phone goes, "Oh, you got a podcast in 10 minutes." And I was like, "Okay, we better head to the basement. We'll eat the rest of this steak later."
How big a trampoline are we talking here?
Okay, so my wife said, "Did you measure it?" And I'm like, "Well, sorta." And she's like, so you eyed it out? And I'm like, "Yeah, I eyed it out." So it's a 12-foot diameter trampoline. And I live in East Vancouver. So properties are, somewhat expensive. So like backyard real estate is at a premium. And I thought we might still have a little bit left over for, like a patio table and stuff. But we have two parts of the backyard. One's like all gardeny and bushy, and the other part's like paving stones. And it nuked the entire like a 12-foot trampoline is a gigantic trampoline. Yeah. Like my 7-year-old, she's got like acres of trampoline. So I kind of overshot it, but I got Dad of the Year award going on right now.
Yeah, that's every 7-year-old's dream is I want the whole backyard to be trampoline.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the night she has to sleep out there.
Yeah. That's
there you
East
go.
Vancouver giving your kid a pony. You just pulled it off.
Yeah, 100%. So I'll take the credit and the good grace for the next couple days.
She'll remember sleeping on the trampoline, though. Those are some of the best memories you can have.
Yeah.
Under the stars and a sleeping bag on a trampoline.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I can't believe you did it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Oh, we appreciate you coming on. This is great. I mean, like I said, when I reached out, we following your stuff a little bit and just going through your, been following you on Instagram, listen to a few of your podcasts. You have so many and they're so good. I have not gone through them all, I'll admit. But okay, I do want to ask you one thing to start off.
Yeah,
because
shoot, anything.
Top of my head, it was a highlight. Can't remember what episode, but you had a guest on. And I can't remember who it was, but you were reminiscing about the old days. And he said something along the lines of, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was back in the good old days when, you'd call the moose in and then you had like your chainsaw, but instead of bar oil, you had olive oil in it." And I was like, "What the fuck? That's a thing? Oh my God. Why haven't we done that?"
A food grade chainsaw.
Yeah. That was, Backcountry Carnivores. It was Danny and Cole, and I want to say it was episode 105. And those guys are in Bali right now for a month straight, and it's like pretty debaucherous what they're getting up to over there. I'm a little jealous being like an old married guy. Life's there's no month trips to Bali going on. I'm tapped out of all that nonsense. But yeah, Danny's old man is super cool too. So that's Danny Gazzola, and his old man is David Gazzola, and they're like pretty hardcore BC guys. So Danny's grown up, going on moose hunts and doing all the rest of it his whole life. But I'll be honest, that's the first time I'd ever heard of olive oil as bar oil in a chainsaw. But
okay,
kind of made
good,
sense. Why not?
I was like, am I missing like a tradition that hasn't been passed down to me in some way? Like, did I really miss this, or is this these guys just being ballers?
Yeah, full-blown rednecks.
I love it. That's like, I feel like that's something we do. We just haven't been smart enough to think of it yet.
No, I wonder how well the blade actually like splits a spine. It would be really interesting to see if you could sever an animal properly without just making, hamburger and shards.
Yeah, just bone mess everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Hang on, I got to turn down my heater.
Yep.
Sure.
You guys look like kind of big guys like I am, and I run hot. So if the basement doesn't stay cold, I get overheated quickly.
No, that's fair. I didn't turn my heater on enough, so now I'm in like a sweater because it's totally mismanaged my time today. Usually when we start off, I think I mentioned this when I emailed you, but we usually start off with having a beer or a soda or whatever you're into. Are you having any? I know you have a steak on the back burner. Are you having anything to drink at all tonight?
It's kind of funny. You guys probably obviously didn't hear my latest podcast, which
No.
I'm coming up on 15 years clean and sober.
Oh, well then, yeah.
So I'm not having a beer, but it's all good. Please enjoy in my stead. I'm drinking branched chain amino acids instead, which is just fancy fucking sugar water, to be honest with you.
Is that like a?
I'll try and watch the F-bombs. I realize not everybody swears on the
we
podcast.
We use.
filters.
Are we F-bomb friendly? All right. Okay, we're at home then.
I think we're probably a little F-bomb plus, honestly.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
I guess that'll start off my next kind of question. So if you're drinking branched chain amino acids, does that have to do with your foray into bodybuilding at all?
Yeah, that is a crazy story, and I have to know the details of like what prompted it, because you're a fit guy to begin with.
Yep.
And then you're like, you know what, just kidding, there's even fitter, maybe the fittest, and I'm just going to go do that for a while. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story, and funnily enough, this is actually going to loop right back into me getting sober. So when I got sober the first time, I was in my early 20s. I got sober at this treatment center in Southern Ontario, outside of Barrie, Ontario, called Hope Acres, and it was run by the Salvation Army. And other than like a little bit of high school gym and like lifting a couple weights, never had trained before. And they had like a really ghetto gym at this treatment center. And I ended up getting sober with this Italian guy, Tommaso Galati, who to be honest with you, I don't think is with us anymore. And he taught me how to work out. And that was one of the things that kind of kept my shit together, because I had come from this like super intense lifestyle. Like, if anybody's interested, go listen to the podcast, but I'm an ex-junkie.
Okay.
Like cocaine, started shooting heroin when I was 15. Like I was Billy Badass, hardcore junkie for a long period of my life, and then ended up getting sober, pulling it all together. So my brain was hardwired to go like 90 miles an hour all the time. And as soon as everything quiets down, I feel like I'm losing my shit. So the gym for me was like this place of serenity, because like I could go in there, I could put really loud music on in my headphones, I could train super hard, and I could get that intensity, but I could get it in a healthy way. So we flash forward. I basically train on and off, but it's always in my life. And I'll do, I competed in jiu-jitsu for a while. I competed in CrossFit for a while. I really like hunting, but like the one thing that never left my life was working out in the gym. And primarily because you can go do it by yourself. I don't have to rely on anybody. I can get a gym membership to places that open late and open early. I can make it work for my lifestyle, even when I have a kid. Like it's just, and I like being by myself. And when I go put my headphones on in the gym, especially when I get the like angry look on my face, like people don't talk to you, it's perfect. And so I go on training for like the next 20 years, stays a constant in my life. And this whole time I'm fascinated with bodybuilding for a couple of reasons. Like I kind of grew up training during like the Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler era. Like those were the gods of bodybuilding. And so I was always fascinated with the mass monsters. And then, especially like I've always been deeply interested in discipline, especially, and this also goes back to getting sober, because there are periods in my life where no matter how bad I wanted something, I wasn't able to do it just because I lacked the will and I lacked the discipline. And I've realized now, getting older in life, that it's not always just will and discipline. There's environmental factors that affect our likelihood of success as well. But then other times in my life, I would have the will and discipline, and I could watch these miraculous things occur, and I'd be able to accomplish these just really, really cool shit. And so the thing that blew my mind about bodybuilding was like it was real life magic, because it was essentially somebody would change their body. Obviously, there's some help with some pharmaceuticals and what. I'm not going to say it's just pure, discipline and will, but essentially by making up your mind, applying effort, sticking to a program, sticking to a diet, you could literally change your body from one shape to another shape. And that fascinated me. But because I'd always worked in the forestry industry, which is like 10 and 4s, and I'd always traveled for work, I would get like these 6-month spurts, start to put a bit of a decent physique together, off in the bush for a couple months, get back for 6 months, leave for a couple months. So I'd never really had the consistency required to see what I could actually do. And then I think I'm 44 now, and I think I was just turning 40. And life was set. Great job, great house, great wife, kids healthy, everything's good, living in the same city, not moving, financially pretty well off. So, got a little disposable income to spend on the hobbies. And I said to my wife, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. I'm finally going to do it. And here's the other thing. If I'm really honest, I think when
hold on. No, you can't just breeze by that. Hang on a second.
Okay.
You said to your wife, when I say to my wife, I'm just going to do it, it's like the limit of it is I'm going to go get you your favorite beer from a store that's 2 blocks away instead of 3. Right. And you said to your wife instead, just so everybody listening understands the scale here, I'm going to do bodybuilding, sweetheart. And she just was like, yeah, cool. And then off you went.
She's been with me for 10 years. This is like the scale of things I tend to walk upstairs and say. If it's not that, or it's like, I'm going to go do a solo sheep hunt for 15 days. And she's just like, okay, honey. She just smile and nod is my wife's motto, basically. Because the odds are I'll come back alive, at least up till now.
Right.
So I decide I'm going to do a bodybuilding show, but I don't want to embarrass myself. So I literally decided to take the next 3 years to craft a physique that would be worthy of getting on stage. And so I don't know if you bore all the details, but I hired a coach, did a bunch of other stuff, and I went from 209 pounds, so 6'1", 209, which is like a pretty fit dude, a hiker, a big backpacker type thing, and went from 209 pounds in 3 years to 271 pounds. So I put on 62 pounds. Yeah. Now, I was a fat fuck. I'm not going to pull any punches. You can go on my Instagram. There was a lot of cushion for the pushing. But I'd also put on some ass. And at the end of that 3-year period, I decided to prep for a bodybuilding show. It took me 6 months. And I went from, crazily enough, 271 pounds to 209 pounds. So exactly the same numbers. And I only hit that 209 the morning I got on stage. That was the lowest weight I ever was. And so it took me 3 years to put on 63 pounds. And then I lost 63 pounds in 6 months. But if you look at the two, and I have the two pictures side by side. If you look at the 209 4 years ago, and then the 209 that stepped on stage, it's like that. You see that Captain America movie when he's all before he goes through the whole thing that turns him into Captain America. It's not that severe, but it's crazy how different 209 pounds can look on one dude. But
totally.
The other thing is I've got just might as well bare our souls here. I have a ton of food issues. I love food. I love shitty food. I love staying up late night and eating food until I feel sick. Especially now that I'm sober, it's one of the only things I got. I got coffee and I got food. So
you've nailed my biggest issue.
Yeah.
Is donuts for me.
Yeah. Love them.
Fucking most people I could have a few donuts. I'm I could have 12. I could polish 12 donuts.
Give me the box. No problem.
A fucking prostitute on payday. It's not good.
No.
And same thing.
Staying up like a college student's. Yeah.
Staying up late, eating garbage.
That's when it goes for me. I can maintain pretty good during the day. And as soon as the kid goes to bed and the wife goes to bed and I go downstairs to watch some TV, it's no holds barred, man. So the idea of a diet scares the shit out of me because it was I honestly don't know if I'm even capable of doing this. But one of my secrets, and the nice thing about having a decent Instagram account is all the rest of it is once you put your chips on the table, it's what are you going to back out and fucking fail in front of everybody now? That social commitment, that's a really powerful tool if you want to use it. And so I was posting progress pictures in my underwear and everybody's what the fuck are you doing? And I'm you got to understand, this is part of it, man. I'm going to get on stage in a fucking Speedo in 6 months in front of, I don't know, 1,000 people. Like, that terrifies me. And so I'm going to use that as motivation, and I'm going to use that fear and turn it into like productive will and discipline.
So the audience, the real audience, was scarier than the Instagram audience to you?
That's a great question, man. In my head, yes.
God, that's your first great question ever.
It's a first.
The Instagram's audience doesn't scare me at all anymore. But I want to preface that by saying I've been doing Mindful Hunter for going on almost 7 years now. And I have changed a lot. And I feel like maybe even only in the last 6 months do I feel like I've really come into my own, and I don't feel the need to prove myself anymore as a hunter, as a fitness guy, as a guy who makes YouTube films. Like, I feel like my body of work speaks for itself. If you don't believe in that and you think I'm full of shit, then go fuck yourself, because I've done enough and I've built enough and I've created enough that it is what it is. And I also think part of my brand, and that can come off as a cheesy word, but I think it's a good word to explain, to encapsulate what it is I'm trying to talk about, is like grassroots authenticity. Like that's what I stand for in the reviews. That's what I stand for in my hunting films. So that's what I'm going to stand for when it comes to my personal passions and hobbies like bodybuilding. I'm just going to be as open and honest. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed, but I think the lessons that we can all learn along the way, because I think too, a lot of the people who follow me, they don't have either the resources or the time, or they're not in a place in their life where they don't have the luxuries I do to do the types of things that I do. But if I share going through them, then we all get to benefit from the mistakes and the learnings and the fears. But yeah, in my mind, like when I'm training for a hunt, I always have that last piece of like a summit of a sheep hunt, and I keep that in my mind. So when I'm on a treadmill, that's what I play in my mind. Now what I play in my mind is up on stage. So when I practice posing, I'm up on stage. When I'm doing my cardio, I'm up on stage. When I get to the gym and I feel like shit, I think about being up on stage. And then that like fear of failure is a really big motivating factor for me. Like I draw a lot of energy from that.
That's wow. So fear of failure, that's great, because I want to build on that in a minute, but like putting it all on the table, I guess. I also in high school would like frequent the gym.
Yep.
Right. Like not one of the first actual books, let's be honest, probably one of the first books I bought was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Bodybuilding Encyclopedia.
Loved it. Had it.
Yeah. I had both editions. Did that for a bit. Did being shitty. Kept doing shitty forever. Did going back to the gym 6 years ago, I guess, for like a year. And then I had my second kid, so that just went out the window. And then recently I just started going back, as in like 4 or 5 weeks ago now.
Okay.
Because I've got like a narrowing disc that's like major sciatic pain type thing.
Yep.
So I need to strengthen my body to kind of sustain that. And 12 donuts and eating chips while binge watching Succession or whatever is not
such a good show.
Oh my God.
I hate every single person on it with like a flaming white hot passion, but I can't stop watching it.
That's the beauty of it. But like that's not helping, right? So
no.
For me, like that fear of failure is like every morning if I have to like get up and like rush because one of the kids is sick or something, I'm not hobbling like a feeble old man, and my wife like looks over and is like, oh God, I got to divorce this geezer and get myself a better model. So that's very interesting, because it's kind of a similar fear of failure. It's just like mine's like actual physical failure and looking shitty to the only person that puts up with me aside from these two fuckers.
This is something I think a lot of people run away from, unfortunately, which is failure in itself. I look at my kid all the time, and I always have to step in, because as soon as the kid starts to fail at something, it's like the in-law comes running or the mom comes running, and I'm like, fucking back up. Well, yeah, but what? What's going to happen? She's going to fail. She's going to get upset, and she's going to figure out that whatever she's doing ain't working. And then she's going to figure out another way to do it, and she's going to keep trying, or she's going to give up. And then she's going to walk away, and in about 10 minutes, she's going to start to feel like a piece of shit. And then she's going to realize that when we give up, we don't feel very good about ourselves. Either way, this is a win. The only thing that's not a win is you robbing those lessons from her by not allowing her to feel that failure.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about hunting. Like, one of the most frustrating things I hear from people is, oh, we didn't get anything, but man, we had a really good time and we got to see some new country. And it's like, I get it. I think it's important to focus on the wins. It is. But like, if I'm going to kill something, if I wasn't going to kill something, I'd go camping with my daughter. I wouldn't bring a gun, and I'd have hot dogs in the cooler, and my truck would be right there. The goal is for something to die. And if something doesn't die, I fucked up somewhere, either in the planning, in the execution, in the scouting. Someone has to own that. And I think being able to recognize failure without feeling like a failure, I think is a key to growth, because then you can like extract the lessons from it without it crushing you. And I think that's what people get afraid of. They're like, if I acknowledge the failure, it's going to crush me, and then I'm going to feel like a piece of shit about myself, and I'm not going to do anything. Right. But I think we can tread that line, and it's like, it's okay that you failed. We all fail. What are we going to do about that so that we don't fail next time? Like, a huge, for me, 2023 is mentorship. So I have done solo hunt after solo hunt after solo hunt, and I've got my ass kicked after getting my ass kicked after getting my ass kicked. And I have proven to myself and anyone willing to watch a YouTube video that I can go anywhere in North America and survive for 2 straight weeks. Now, actually killing something and bringing it home is not something I've been able to do. And I realized, okay, 15 years in forestry, 15 years in the coastal mountains of British Columbia. I know mountains. I can go out there, I can survive and come home. But when it comes to my hunting skill set, there's still a lot that needs to be developed. I've only been a serious mountain hunter for the last 7 years. That's a blink of an eye compared to dudes who do this since they've been growing up. So for 2023, I sought out legit killers, guys that were older than me, guys that had killed more shit than me. And I was like, I want to go hunting together. So my big sheep trip is with another guy. I got a fly-in caribou hunt and a goat hunt that's with another guy. I'm spending a lot of time with a buddy of mine who's a guide. And like, that's the whole, and that is a result. I wouldn't know that if I wasn't willing to acknowledge why I failed on those hunts. And it's like, and I just think that's really important, and I think we can benefit from that.
I agree.
So
I
of
think
those hunts that are coming up, which one are you looking most forward to right now?
That's tough, man. It's a stacked year. I've got more hunts on the books this year than I've ever had before.
Which is the one that you've never done before in any way?
I'll be honest. I think probably the fly-in caribou goat hunt. I'm a big sucker for insanely remote places, and this will be one of the remotest places I've ever gone. And it's also
please tell me you're parachuting in.
No, we're not. That would be badass. Maybe we'll try and work that into a future hunt.
Where is this hunt?
So we're flying out of Dease Lake, and we're flying, somewhere north of there. We will be somewhere between Dease Lake and the Yukon border, which is essentially like, if you're flying in for caribou in British Columbia, it's a gigantic area that you can go into, but there's kind of only one area that you can fly into.
Just for dumb me, because my geography is not as good. So I know the Fort St. James to about Dawson Creek area. How far north of that are we yet? Is it like up to Cassiar? Cassiar is the farthest north place I know of.
Yeah, you would be closer saying Cassiar. So basically, if Fort St. James and Dawson and Fort Nelson and all that stuff are kind of on the eastern boundary, when you get to Prince George, you're going to take a left instead, and you're going to kind of drive almost all the way to Rupert, and then you cut up to Dease. It would take me just as long to drive to Dease Lake as it would to Fort Nelson. But from Vancouver, I bet you they're even on somewhat similar latitudes, to be honest with you. And then once we get in the plain of Dease, we'll be going up north from there. So we'll be pretty close to the Yukon border.
That is seriously remote. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you're doing these big hunts, like you said, like big mountain sheep hunts, does the bodybuilding, does that play into it? Like you said, you train for it. So are you training? Obviously, you're going to be training different because you're not trying to sculpt a physique. But like, do you have to offset that because it's a total different type of training than like, oh, I need to go, hike up, like you said, like the thing in the top of mind when training for a goat hunt is always that last peak. I can just imagine you at the gym, you've got like the incline on the treadmill at like 90 and people are just like, the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Running side step.
So the hilarious part is it's a complete and utter detriment.
It is.
Hunting for the last 3 years for me has been terrible. I've probably shaved 5 years off my knee. The most recent goat hunt I did 2 solo winter goat hunts this year, and I did them both at 260 pounds, which is ridiculous. It's not even responsible. And this is my last bodybuilding show, and that's the reason. I really had this like coming to Jesus moment, and it was like, you cannot do, because I'm pretty close to the show right now, I'm in decent shape. I weigh 227 pounds this morning. I'm probably sub 10% body fat. I'm what you would eat, like I'm like magazine fit at the moment. This would be okay physically, like this much weight to carry around. But the rest of the year when you're bulking, you're way too heavy. And it's just, so everything is too hard. And also, to be honest with you, too much muscle. Muscle requires oxygen and muscle requires carbohydrates. And when you're backpacking, you don't really need to be that muscular. I like to be a little bit bigger so that your pack doesn't topple you off the side of the hill. But like, if I could walk around again at 210, 215 pounds at, 10, 12% body fat, like 100%, man, that's where I want to be. And at my age, I don't want to beat up my body anymore. So it was a struggle to fit both things in, and that's the reason the bodybuilding's got to go. Go.
2 seasons ago, when we were on our spring trip, which the 3 of us have coming up in our very near future, we were dismantling a tree, and we had to use the truck for it.
Okay.
And I jumped up onto the tailgate, and Matt looked at me, and he said, "Thank God we can still do that." And that shit stuck in my head like glue. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, yeah, we have to start thinking about like actually being able to do stuff that we just taken for granted for a while. Yeah. Like that level of fitness is...
And functional. Like my kid's
really
7.
Had to think about it.
I'm 44. I did the math. She's going to be like 13 when I'm 50. Like she's going to want to run around. She wants to go to the park. I just built a trampoline. She wants me to bounce on it with her. And that's like, I got to think about, what kind of body can I have that's going to let me run around with my kid for the next 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, you and I are the same age and have a child the same age.
Okay, so you know where I come from. Yeah, 100%.
To understand with this old Santa Claus face staring at you, but it's true. I am your future, you poor bastard.
So, Jay, one of my questions that I had written down for you was going to be, how do your knees survive when you're climbing those hills? Because I was watching videos of you like fucking post-holing snow, and my knees hurt. They were in sympathy pain watching you. I'm like I sure shit know that my knees could not do that. And it's just like, yeah, I'm far too old to do what you're doing. But I'm not. I'm actually younger than you. So yeah.
So I do think while bodybuilding is detrimental to backcountry hunting, I think basic resistance training that I think most guys could do in like 2-3 days a week, like an upper lower body split, doing some nice heavy squats. Like I think that stuff is really, really important. I also spend a shitload of money on taking care of myself and a lot of supplements. And I go pretty intense. Like, so I have a torn meniscus in my one knee, and it'll start flaring up from time to time. I could go get surgery on it, but I'd rather just baby it because once they cut it out, it's gone. And for example, I'll use a combination of a couple different peptides like BPC 157 and TB 500. These are technically legal to buy in Canada. They're over-the-counter research chemicals. But you're
I
literally...
like that technically had to have air quotes.
Well, because they're not legal for human consumption. They're legal for research purposes. But you can go to a website and buy them and not get in trouble for it.
Right.
But you're literally sticking a syringe in the side of your knee 3 times a day for 2-3 months in a row, jabbing these peptides in there to try and like generate some new cartilage and get these things to kind of heal up. So I think the takeaway for me is that now, all that being said, I think if I shaved a couple pounds, I think if I had a more moderate workout regimen, and I think if I did more backpack cardio leading up into the season, which I can't right now because of the bodybuilding thing, I think the need to do that like really aggressive aftercare would kind of die down. And that's my hope moving forward. But I've always been of the opinion, if I want my body to do extraordinary things, I need to be willing to do extraordinary things to support it so that it's capable of doing it.
That's fair. I hear you. I have like osteoarthritis in one, technically both knees, but it is like, like baby it or get surgery. And I probably don't even baby it, but I'm trying to.
I think these days too, putting off surgery as long as you can, especially with where stem cells are going and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's better non-surgical options for the vast majority of ailments these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, but obviously sometimes it's the best option.
So I want to go back to failure at hunting for a quick sec. Sure. I have 2 questions for you.
This is the one subject we're experts at.
Failing.
Well, welcome to the club, man. I don't kill way more often than I kill. So
yeah. So what are you more scared of? Failing at one of your upcoming stacked hunts that you've got coming up? Or decommissioning that trampoline in 8 months when your daughter decides she doesn't want it anymore?
Yeah, that's a great question. I still have a giant above ground pool torn apart in my shed that it's the wife, it's not the kid. Like the wife gets it in her head that we should get a trampoline, and then in 3 months nobody will care about. When I grew up as a kid, trampolines were like white trash shit. Like where I grew up, it would be like a moss covered broken down trampoline in front of like the trailer park. And so when my wife, who comes from like a nice Jewish family, was like, we want to get a tramp, I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. But I was like, all right, whatever.
Those just appear out of the hedges.
Yeah, 100%.
Already covered in moss, don't they?
Yeah. Apparently not. I got to order them from Lowe's and they get delivered to the front door. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to taking apart the trampoline. And there are 2 answers to the failing. There's like the answer the way it is, and then there's the answer that I'm working towards. And the answer the way it is I am scared about failing on not one, but I am scared of failing on everything. I feel really fortunate. I took an elk with my bow last year, but that was the only animal I killed last year. I had this run in like 2019, and I went on 6 consecutive hunts, and I killed. It was 2019 going into 2020. I went on 6 consecutive hunts, and I killed 6 consecutive times over like a year and a half. And I thought to myself, oh, it's done. I'm a hunter now. Apparently, wherever I go, shit just dies. I'm like the plague. And then after that, it was like the gods just heard the arrogance. Do you know what I mean? And then I just got shat on. And it was like, it's through no lack of effort. Do you know what I mean? Like, in fact, to be honest with you, though, I think I work myself into failure. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to go with more experienced people. I think I walk past animals. I think I cover too much ground. I think in my head, I think more is better. And I think the reality of the situation is less is better. I think I need to pick smaller areas to go and hunt. I think I need to have more patience. I think I need to sit still longer. And these are the types of things that I'm hoping to learn this year.
That's definitely my biggest problem, is sitting still long enough to settle an area.
You mean 2 minutes to look at an entire valley isn't enough? I got to keep moving. So
100%.
So long.
It got drilled into me this year. So I went on my first goat hunt, literally did not see one goat. I solo hunted for 12 days. I don't think there was a ton up there, but didn't find a single one. Then the second goat hunt, I went back to an area I'd hunted before, and I made up a plan in my mind. I said, there's this one bowl, and there's these 3 faces I can glass from this one area if I camp. I hiked all the way in on day 1, and I set up camp, and I did the exact same thing every single day. And I walked out into this clearing. I would glass for 3 or 4 hours. I would go have lunch. I would come back out. I would glass for 3 or 4 more hours. And by the end of day 2, I just started picking them out, man. And it was like, wow, they're fucking everywhere.
So
now they were there. Oh, they were all there. They were everywhere. And it was like, all I had to do was sit still. Do you know what I mean? Now, and then there's really interesting questions. Like, are they there, but we're just not seeing them? Because when you glass, you know, it's like reading in a book. How often do you get to the bottom of the page and it's like, son of a bitch? The eyes went over it, but I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing that was on the page. Glassing is like that. You'll just kind of come to. And it's like I was gritting, but like I don't even know what I was looking at. So it's like, was I looking and I just didn't see them? Or were they in places where they were invisible, like little tucked behind little bushes, and then they just happen to move that 3 or 4 feet that I needed, and now they are actually visible? Or maybe they weren't even on that hill. And that because I just kept watching the hill for multiple days in a row, I finally caught them as they were like making their way across.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
part of the hill.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I think it matters that was like the last kind of nail in the coffin for me. And it was like, I didn't come up with these ideas. Like, luckily for me, putting up YouTube videos of like extravagant failures, people often reach out and it was like, dude, you were working way too hard. And they will vets will listen, you slow down, and they'll point out things in the video like you should have walked up this valley and just sat there for a couple days. And so it was like from comments from people like that who know more than I do, I was able to kind of piece this together. But that was the kind of final test for me that I was like, yeah, this is what it, because even when I'm scouting, I look at these giant areas, if I cover 8 miles a day, I could walk over here and then go 12 miles over there. And it's like, I think even that's got to change. Like the perspective, the framing, the mindset. It's like, I think we're scared of locking ourselves into one little area. So it's like, I want these county size areas. And I think that's somehow going to produce more animals.
Yeah. You gotta change your strategy to digging in and looking around.
Go deep and narrow, not broad and wide. And that for those types of animals anyways, if we wanted to have a conversation about elk and stuff, I think that's a little bit different because they leave so much sign. I think there's a lot to be said to try and cover a lot of ground and find where they are. But when we're talking like sheep and mountain goat and stuff like that, I think 100% less is more.
So your comment about the whole glazed over glassing, that makes a lot of sense because Matt and I and Scott have a term. It's called beer means deer. So you can sit there and you look and there's not a single animal and you're just like, fuck it. And as soon as you crack a beer and you're not paying attention anymore, right?
Yeah.
You're done looking. You just sit down, crack a beer. Out of the corner of your eye, you look over and all of a sudden there's a deer that clearly did not just show up from the center of this hillside in 5 seconds. You're just like, oh shit. So it's almost like that. The minute you just kind of stop looking too hard and let your eyes kind of just pick out that natural movement where you just see all of a sudden there's a flick of an ear or that shape just shows up almost peripherally. I think there's something to that because either that or we're just really dumb.
The second season we were out turkey hunting. We had a period where we had split up and we had tried to create, this was me, you, and Jade actually, Darren, that season out by Jaffrey. And we had set up to be in a triangle. And so we were going to sit
so we're
for
all
45
shooting
minutes.
each other.
So we were all shooting each other finally. So we could finally die and be
Sweet release.
But we had to sit for 45 minutes. And while we were sitting, I saw a hawk that had been sitting on top of this like pretty good sized pine tree for a while. And after it settled, it let out a hell of a screech, and the ground around me just erupted with rodents. As soon as it screeched, everything that it wanted to eat started running like hell. And I had no idea I was sitting around that much life in that moment. I learned about patience that day, but it's just a patience that I just cannot seem to bring to my mind enough to sit still when I'm out in a hunt with these guys these days.
I'm not. We're not
struggle,
tree
man.
stand. We're not tree stand.
We have to
guys.
drive out and shoot it. Basically, we have to drive out and find it in 10 minutes, and if that doesn't happen, then it's we just wait until the evening where it has to happen in 10 minutes.
Well, actually, I got a scenario for you, Jay. When you're talking about like learning something from your failures, I honestly think like, again, unless we're doing this really wrong, sometimes there's just nothing you can do, right? Like you've done everything right. So the example I'll give you is I've got a piece of land, like a quarter section, and we've put cameras up. And we found a spring, like a natural spring. I put a camera there. And for, I shit you not, 2 weeks straight, from when I put that camera up to the beginning of hunting season, we saw 8 moose, 7 million deer.
It was an Attenborough documentary for that period. It was.
It literally was an LTE camera. It blew my data plan. Like I had to upgrade. And we went out like day one, Matt and I, and we went right above the camera, found a nice, hillside tucked behind bushes where we could see literally almost everything. And we sat there for hours through all the times that I had marked that the animals were coming in. We were there for 3 days and didn't see a single fucking thing. Yeah. It's like hunting season came on and they're like, guess it's holiday, and they fucked off to, I don't know, somewhere else. No moose, no fresh track. Lots of like 4-day-old track, maybe 3-day-old track. But for the 3 days we were there, and this is like the day before, I had probably like 30 pictures on that camera. Yeah. Not a single animal. And we just sat there and like, what did we do wrong? Like,
well, I think there's two explanations. One, they know when hunting season is. And I think they know that way more than most people give them credit for.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I think we've been here long enough that we have changed their pattern. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that is absolutely an option. And number two, you probably underestimated your own influence.
Yeah, probably.
To some degree, it's possible. I did my first real tree stand hunting this year, and my guide's dad said something very interesting to me, which I hadn't even really considered. And it was like the end of one of the last days, and they put me in one of the better stands. And we were over at his place afterwards, and he's like, "How much did you see today?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't see nothing." And he goes, "Oh, that's because you can't fucking sit still." And I was like, dick. And then I was like, he's fucking right.
Yeah.
Like they are so turned on. And it's like, I used to think tree stand hunting was like this hillbilly, easy, go sit up there and like take a poke. And it's like, if you're talking about like switched on deer that are in like pressured areas and you're trying to kill like big mature bucks, there are few types of hunting I have more respect for after doing that now. Like the amount of time that you're stuck up there, the amount of lack of movement that you get away with, and then trying to actually like come to full draw on something. And I think and I'm not like a big woo-woo energy guy, but I think if you're not quiet in your mind, you might even think you're quiet in your body, but you're not. And I think if you're doing like little like this stuff up there, even if you think it's not making any noise and you think you can't see, like those guys are so switched on, man, that they're seeing that from like far out, and they're catching your scent and they're doing other stuff. So that's the other thing I've had to be really honest with myself.
Man, you are making me feel a lot better about every season I come back with shit all.
Hey, happy to do it, man. Yeah, I was very humbled by my, like, it was legit, like 30 feet up in poplar, swaying back and forth in these tiny stands. Like, I was just white knuckle, like terrifying for me. Like, I hate heights. Like, it was a bad week. It was a very humbling experience. And I want to take another kick at that can, but, and he's the same, like this guy runs an extensive cam network in northern Alberta, and he'll tell you their behavior will change drastically on opening day. And depending where you are and how many people there are too, even just hearing gunshots for the first time, all those animals will change their behavior.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So you mentioned being quiet in your mind and not being quiet in your body. So that just makes me think of being mindful. And I wanted to ask you, where does the mindful hunter come from?
Like, where's the name Mindful Hunter come from?
Yeah, and in your mind, I guess. It's in mind a lot. In your mind, what is...
Yeah, what's it mean?
Yeah, what is being a mindful hunter?
Yeah. So I have to give credit to my mother-in-law. So when I was originally starting what is now Mindful Hunter, I was trying to come up with the term, and like I knew there was a word, but I was like, at first I started saying modern hunter. And I knew it wasn't right, but I needed to call like Instagram and YouTube and all the rest of it something, and I needed to come up with a logo, because that's what you do before you actually do anything, is you make a logo. And I'd come up with modern hunter, but I was trying to get at more of like a Renaissance man type thing, and it was like I couldn't come up with something that didn't just sound douchey. Like I also didn't want. And then, yeah, no word of a lie, man. We're sitting around the dinner table at one of the places that we used to own, and she literally said, "No, it's Mindful Hunter." And I was just like, "Holy shit, that's it!
That's it.
That's the word." Because it's like, it's just being thoughtful. Do you know? And here's the thing: like, I am this like classic adult onset hunter, and one of the big differences between someone who grows up hunting and someone who starts hunting later in life is that people who grow up hunting never question it, because we never question any of the shit we do since we grew up, because you just accept it, because that's life.
Yeah.
But when you start doing things in your 30s, you are like, that's why all the dudes who send me questions like nonstop are dudes who started in their 30s, have more money than they know what to do with now, want to go buy good gear, but they can't stop analyzing shit. So they need somebody to give them some confidence that like this sleeping bag is better than that sleeping bag or whatever. But this like over analytical mind, it kind of plays out along everything that they do.
Do you think the products are that big a difference in quality?
For the most part, no. Huh. And here's the thing: the gear is not what's going to send you home. You know, it's funny, when you first brought up the quiet mind, I thought you were going in another direction. And that is what sends people home, especially on solo hunts. People aren't capable of being alone with their own minds for that long of a period of time.
Nope.
After 2 or 3 days, like, dude, the shit that starts to come up, I'm talking like exes you broke up with 15 years ago, shit that happened in your childhood, like, and you just instantly, you will start coming up with excuses that like, oh, I'm being selfish and my family needs me home. And you'll like come up with any, and I know because I've done it. Like, I've gone home early, and then driving home, it's like acid in the back of the throat. You're like, you piece of shit. Nobody gives a shit if you're gone. You gave up because you couldn't hack it out there. And luckily I'm analytical enough that I had to say, okay, well, what went wrong? And then it's really just, you lose the battle of the mind. Like, the boots don't matter. The bag doesn't matter. The tent doesn't matter. Like, you could go, there's dudes who are killing shit in Carhartts and Mac jackets. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's your mind that's going to say, now, realistically, the more comfortable you are, the longer you'll stay out there and the more attention you'll pay while you're out there. So if you have money, don't get me wrong, buy good gear. But at the end of the day, the gear is like 10% of the battle. I think people like to focus on things that make them feel good. And buying gear makes you feel good because you think you solved the problem with money. Focusing on fitness makes you feel good because you can see instant results. Focusing on the type of food you bring makes you feel good because you're coming up with a plan and it's comforting and you can see it there. Animal behavior is a nightmare. So reading books about mule deer behavior patterns is not something anybody actually does. Going to like workshops and seminars from wildlife biologists on like migration corridors is not something anybody does. Going out there and like legitimately scouting, that's what the killers are doing. But like the rest of, average Joe hunters, that doesn't make you feel good because you know what? You ain't going to find shit because you don't know what you're fucking doing. And you're going to have to confront that you don't know what you're doing. When you go out and scout, you don't find anything. And so we do the things that make us feel good, but unfortunately, the things that make us feel good aren't necessarily the things that generate more success for us. And the same thing goes with your mind. That's why I do things like jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, bodybuilding shows. Like I'm looking for ways to train my mind. I'm trying to put myself in places of deep discomfort and then find ways. I have this pet theory. Self-esteem only comes from accomplishing things which we thought we were incapable of. And so the follow-up question is, well, if you think you were incapable of it, why would you ever even attempt it? And my answer is because you had no choice. And so that's where strength and self-esteem comes from. When we're placed, and this happens all the time, man. Family needs something, you fucking get it done. You're going to get in a fight and a kid, you can't run away. I mean, there's my recovery for me is where I got a lot of my strength. A lot of people will face health issues. And then it's like, you better fix this shit or you're going to fucking die. Like those people go mountaineering because once you get halfway up, you got to go to the fucking top now. Like you find situations in life where you remove the safety net and you remove the back door and you have no choice but to accomplish this now. And when you do those things, and I used to run tree planting crews, and I used to tell people, you all have a limit to which you think you are capable of right now. And you think I'm an asshole, but I'm here to tell you that's bullshit. And every time we break that limit, and you thought you could plant this many trees, and now you're planting this many trees, and now you're planting this many trees, eventually you're going to realize that all those limits are bullshit. And that the only limit placed on you and your own potential is by your own mind. And once you have control over that mind, then there are no more limits. And then you're capable of doing anything you want to do.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah. And you know what, that whole thing with like the giving up, right?
Yeah.
Like getting halfway through and making up an excuse.
Yeah.
I know for me, like that happens all the time, right? Like, we'll be out hunting, like Matt and Scott and I, and you get to like 3:34 or whatever, like this is bullshit. Like there's no deer here or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just give up and go have a few drinks. And then you just kind of like, well, we might as well stick it out till sundown. And then sundown, there's a buck standing on the ridge. Or like recently when I'm, going to the gym at lunch hour or whatever, I got like a few more to do, but I'm like, I should get back to work. And then, same thing. I tell myself, like, they don't fucking care that I'm not at work. Nobody gives a shit about me.
No.
Like 20 minutes, like no one's going to fucking care. Like nobody. Yeah. Why don't you just do it? Yeah.
The only rule I have now, man, is I don't quit. And 90% of the animals I've killed, the only credit I can take is that I just didn't stop. I didn't come, it was through like brilliant strategic planning or deep knowledge of animal behavior. It was like just kept pounding ground, just kept not quitting. And then
is there such a thing as
out.
Deep knowledge of animal behavior, like you said?
Yeah, man, go look at fucking Ryan Lampers, Remy Warren. Like these guys are in, like, they can go to hills and like, and I've gone to Arizona hunting enough times now, and I've been with guides enough time now. When you watch the way those people glass, it's not luck. Do you know what I mean? Like they have a deep understanding, and it all comes down to basic biological needs, right? We need to eat, we need to sleep, and we need to procreate. And so one of those three things is going to, and like we'll throw water in with eat, like we need nourishment. I'll say food, water, sleep, and procreation. Those four things are what drives every single decision an animal makes. Now, if you can understand the motivating factors behind those four resources for those particular animals, and the problem is it changes. Like I drew a mule deer tag in New Mexico this year, so I'm going to be headed to New Mexico in January. New Mexico mule deer are not British Columbia mule deer. So whatever I know about mule deer here, which is fuck all anyways, is not going to help me hunt. At least not most of it is going to help me hunt mule deer in New Mexico. So like,
are the mule deer in BC just as dumb as they are in Alberta?
I don't know. I've never actually killed a mule deer in
We've killed them.
BC.
That's
All
how
right.
dumb ours are. The three of us have all killed mule deer here.
Yeah.
Therefore,
it's
our
something.
mule deer are clearly dumber than yours.
Every time we've killed a mule deer with other mule deer,
Yeah.
70 to 90% will fuck off, and then like 3 will go over to the dead mule deer and be like, "Oh, what's wrong
Are
with
they big
Jim?"
mule deer? Because here's the thing: the little ones are dumb. The big ones,
they're
good size.
I don't know. They're good size.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, they come and they're like, "Let's just stand broadside and check out what happened to Bill."
Fair enough.
And you're like, "Oh fuck, we could just hit him with the truck at this point."
Yeah, I need to find me some dumb mule deer in British Columbia for sure.
He just walked right up to it and he said, "Will you just go get my freezer?" And the mule deer was like, and just
sounds good. I'm hot anyway. Yeah. So mule deer in New Mexico. Matt, I think you wanted to know about U.S. tags, didn't you?
So I've never applied, I've thought about it, but I have not the first inkling on if I'm a Canadian citizen and I want to go hunt in the States. You were saying
piss,
one of your like you said piece of piss, but what does that mean?
What?
Like,
oh yeah, it's a joke. Okay, for starters, episode 4 and episode 5 of the Mindful Hunter podcast, they're like an hour and a half each. I break down 7 different states, how to apply. So if anybody listening wants like actual deep information, just go listen to those 2 episodes. Here's the thing. As a non-resident of a state, they don't care where you're from. Like if you want to go hunt in Washington, there's only 2 categories for people who hunt in Washington: residents and non-residents. So if you're a non-resident in California, if you're a non-resident in New Zealand, if you're a non-resident in Canada, it does not matter. There is 0 difference. You are the same person. The only exception to that rule is Alaska. I think we're called non-landed aliens, or you have to be an American citizen to hunt in Alaska
that's
without
some
a
Sarah
guide.
Palin sounding shit right there.
Yeah, it's the only. Now I can't complain much though because I can't even go hunt in your province
anyway.
And I'm a Canadian. I need one of you guys to invite me over and sign a little slip of paper, but I can drive to Montana and buy a mule deer tag over the counter and go hunting every year if I want to.
Yeah.
Really? So so it's archery is mainly open and rifle is hard to get.
No,
is that the guess?
The thing is, the United States is far superior at game management compared to us. I'm just going to say it. If it might piss people off, they just haven't looked at the records. So primarily, states will either be opportunity focused or trophy focused. So they're either trying to grow really big animals or they're trying to let lots of people go hunting. And that will be the kind of guiding force of their game management decisions. But almost all states are going to be primarily archery focused during rutting seasons. So all Western states, no one's hunting elk with a rifle in all of September. No one. Unless you're in Utah. That's the only state. Which I think is, I don't understand why anybody else is doing it. You can call them and they will run up to you 40 yards from your face. I don't understand why you need a rifle to kill an elk in the rut. And if you're thinking about it from like a revenue generation standpoint, if you're looking at how many elk you're going to kill with a rifle in the rut compared to how many elk you're going to kill with a bow in the rut, you can sell 10 rifle tags or you can sell 100 archery tags. Either way, 10 animals are dying. You know what I'm saying? So they can generate a ton more revenue. That being said, let's take a look at a state like Montana, because Montana is kind of like Canada and the hunting is kind of similar. It's a short drive. It's easy to get to. So in Montana, it is a draw for your non-resident big game combo license. So for $850, you get a mule deer tag and an elk tag. Now this is, it's like a general season mule deer tag and elk tag. which means it's open for all of archery and it's open for all of rifle. And it's open for probably 65 to 70% of the state. There are premium units in areas that require more points to draw, but there's a lot of areas that are not difficult, that are all just in this big, giant open season category. Right now, it takes anywhere between 1 and 2 points to draw this non-resident big game combo. Some people get it in their first year. Some people have to wait for their second year. And you can buy a bonus point for $50. So let's say somebody wanted to go hunt Montana in 2024, right? It's 2023. You got to plan a year out. What I would tell you is that in June, their bonus point only season opens up. So you literally just type in Montana, Game and Fish, bonus point application. You log in, you create an account. You just need your driver's license number and address. It takes 2 minutes. You buy a $50 bonus point. And then next year in March, when the application period opens, you're starting now with 1 bonus point already. And so you would apply for the non-resident big game combo. You'd have probably a 50 to 60% chance of drawing it. If you drew it, you would have an elk tag and a mule deer tag that would essentially be good for 3 months each. And for the month of September, you could hunt it with a bow. And if you were unsuccessful, you could go home. And then I think elk and mule deer are both open till like November 25th from October 1st. And so anytime in the following 7 weeks, you drive back down, you're hunting the same tag, and now you bring your rifle with you. The only caveat is you need to leave yourself about 6 weeks to apply for the permit to bring your rifle into the States. But it takes 2 seconds. It's super easy to fill out. I've gotten mine back in normally 7 to 10 days, but they're really clear on the website that this could take up to 6 weeks. And the nice thing about a bow is that you need 0 paperwork because it's not a firearm and you can just drive back and forth.
But in Montana, couldn't you just grab a rifle at the gas station or the 7-Eleven?
You probably could.
Walmart or the bank or Toys R Us?
Pack of American Spirit cigarettes.
Yeah. So it's not hard, man. It's wading through the bureaucracy of it is a little overwhelming at first because like game and fish sites are not known for their sophisticated user experience. So it takes a little while to kind of figure out like what's going on. And if this is something people want to get into, because all of the Western states are governed by a bonus point system, except for New Mexico and kind of Idaho. Which means if you really want to hunt like seriously premium tags at some point, it's going to be like a 10, 15 year long-term game plan to kind of build those points. And if that's something that interests people, I highly recommend the website Go Hunt because they have this, they have these filtering tools and you can like look up and see what units have the big trophy classes and how many points it takes to draw, this animal in this state and all the rest of it. So it's not nearly as difficult as you think. Meat's easy to bring home. I've been lucky. I've hunted Montana, Texas, Wyoming, New Mexico, Arizona, and Maui.
Maui.
Yeah. Maui's a blast.
What was on Maui?
I don't know. I wonder if you can see them from here.
Everything is on Maui. Maui's a strange island.
You see that goat?
Oh yeah. Is that what do they call it?
I think it's like an ibex, like a Spanish ibex.
Yeah. Okay.
And they are, they're like, sorry, give me a second. Kind of free range. Like they're a bit of a nuisance species. So I think it was a guided hunt and it wasn't crazy. Like it might've been $1,000 or something, but you're there for a week with your wife and you just bring your bow with you and take off at one morning at 4:00 in the morning and just go hunt and then come back to the four seasons covered in blood and getting out of the rent-a-car in camo and everybody's like, the fuck is that guy doing?
Yeah.
$1,000?
Place, though.
I think so. For the goats, like goats and pigs are cheap as shit. Axis gets pricey, especially during some seasons, but like you can go arrow a goat or arrow a pig for cheap. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like $900 or $1,000.
I just paid that to take my kids on the shittiest horseback ride on the beach in Mexico.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you fucked
for
up.
45 minutes.
$1,000.
Yeah. What?
I had an elk burger on
Not
Maui,
the best decision
and
in
the
my
elk
life.
lived on Maui before it was in my face parts. Everything
shit.
lives on Maui. Maui
Yeah.
is a crazy island.
Maui's a crazy
That's
island.
because Roosevelt brought all that shit over for hunting.
That would have been Roosevelt.
It wouldn't have
right?
been Nixon. That's not Nixon.
No, Roosevelt was the crazy hunter.
Yeah, it would have been Roosevelt then, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jay, have you heard on the Hawaiian Islands there's feral cattle?
I've heard about it, but I don't know anything about it.
It's I thought it would be for the game that the tastiest of tasty animals you could possibly hunt. You go hunt a 2,000-pound feral cow that's climbing the hillsides in some tropical paradise. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
What does a feral cow do? Like, feral pigs are fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
What does a feral cow become?
I don't know.
I know they have them on Haida Gwaii. I used to work on Haida Gwaii, and there's like a herd of feral cows, and they kind of turn into these Brahmin-looking things, like super shaggy and like pretty rough around the edges.
And I think they're skittish too.
Yeah, probably. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
Some of their instincts came back.
Yeah.
It only takes pigs, apparently, like a matter of months to go feral.
Yeah, they
I
go
would've
feral
thought it-
fast.
Yeah, I thought it
They'll
would
like
have
change
taken,
hair
like, a
color, they
generation
thicken
of-
up, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like those
Grow
feral
tusks
pigs
and
people
shit.
see are like kind of genetically speaking the same pigs as like the little pink ones.
Wait, they're
Yeah.
not the.
Yeah.
They don't have to actually like breed themselves to become feral. They can just
No,
take
they
a.
No, they
that's
turn
what I
feral.
learned,
Like
Matt.
if you let
They
a
go
normal
feral.
pig loose in a very short period of time, it will
It's like if you
change its
ran away
physical
from
appearance.
home right now and you grew tusks, Matt.
Right.
That's what, like, in a month you'd just be like, "Pah!" Just
Yeah.
tusks.
Matt's pig DNA would kick in.
Darren and
Which is
I
likely what would happen if I
running
left my
around
wife.
with hair
Where's
on
those
our
potato
shoulders,
chips?
trying to dig in the mud.
Yeah.
I think that's what would happen if all our wives were gone. We'd instantly
100%.
become feral without any sort of actual life skills left. Jay, I know we're running tight on time.
It's all good.
We do sometimes lately have a little section called Guest to Know You, where we just ask you a few questions, maybe a little bit of trivia. Is that something you're interested in doing? You
Yeah,
can win a
man.
T-shirt as long as you play.
Wow. Those sounds like my kind of odds.
Yeah, better odds than hunting.
Yeah, better odds than drawing a tag in New Mexico.
God, yeah, I'm excited to see your.
I'm excited. So
on that.
here's a. This is why you always got to try anyway. So the tag I drew in New Mexico, there was 123 applicants and 6 tags. So I had a 7.4% chance of drawing that tag, and I won it. I've only ever applied in New Mexico twice. First time I got my elk tag. Second
that's
time I got
lucky.
my deer tag. And so I'm just quitting now. I'm never applying in New Mexico again.
Yeah,
that's
you
pretty-
won. You won the game.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I've one
Got
life.
your
I
lightning
quit.
strike.
Go out on top. It's like winning a hand at the casino. I'm walking.
Totally.
And
I
unless
agree.
you can win more the next time,
No, Matt.
but just one more.
Matt's not allowed
Every
to
year,
say
Matt.
that. Okay, some questions for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is one animal that you absolutely love hunting or would love to hunt? And what is one that you're just not interested in at all? That's just like a full nope. And you can't like pull like giraffe or rhinoceros, like no shitty animals.
That's fair.
Okay, but like puppies. Puppies isn't an answer.
My answer used to be elk. Like elk was my favorite animal to hunt. My current answer has to be sheep. I tend to focus on the thing I haven't been able to do. I've been fortunate enough to take 2 elk with my bow. So I feel like there's still a lot more left for me to do in the elk woods, but I have not yet killed a sheep. So the sheep is the one that's important for me. If we were going to go North American species, I don't feel super drawn to killing a pronghorn. I would like to. I'm interested in it, but it's not the one that like keeps me up at night and is like guiding my application strategy and is like, I think they're super cool. I think they look amazing, but I don't find a big like draw. There's other things I haven't got to hunt, like lions and wolves, that I really, really want to hunt, and I just haven't had the opportunity. But I think, yeah, pronghorn. I'd be into it, but it's not the thing that I'm gonna, book time off work to do anytime soon.
So speed goat is a very tasty animal, in my opinion.
Okay.
But they are not the hardest thing to hunt. They are
right.
So I personally haven't done one myself, but my friends that have, it's you go out the day before season, you spot them. That night they do not move. The next morning you creep up on that location and you wait for sunup and you take your target. That's
and I think that might be one of the things, like when I've watched a lot of pronghorn or antelope, rifle hunts, they're just kind of like, I don't know, man, it doesn't really fire me up. You know what I mean?
They're a sniper animal. Yeah. That's it. You can only shoot them from a great distance. They're too fast to shoot on the
A lot of respect for dudes who do it with a bow. Like I've watched dudes just kill themselves. That interests me, definitely. But again, I also feel like I need to up my skill set quite a bit before that's like pretty varsity level shit.
You do get some good country for pronghorn. Right? So if you're down around Cyprus and you want to like set up a tent, look at night sky and stuff like that, that's beautiful country down there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Southern Alberta with its flat, expansive prairies makes that archery hunt crazy.
Very hard.
Trying to find a knoll to hide behind, and the herd mentality, they spot you, and once they see you, bye-bye.
Yeah.
You have to become a scrub brush.
Or just like
a full ghillie suit.
Tuck into a slough and come out of the water like Apocalypse Now. Right at dawn.
That is a t-shirt we immediately need to print. Tuck into a slough.
Tuck into a slough. Okay, next question I got for you. Name one brand in like I guess I'll just stick with hunting space that you think is absolutely killing it and why.
This is tough because mine for reviews, man. God, this is tough. You know what? I'm gonna go a little left field, and I'm gonna go Kawa. Someone who makes glass spotting scopes in particular. They also make binoculars. I recently did an extremely, little shameless plug here, comprehensive spotting scope review, and for price, no one can touch Kawa. And I would even argue their fluorite crystal is going toe-to-toe with Swarovski. And I think if people can put the brand bias aside, I've talked to some seriously legit glass nerds, and that Kawa fluorite crystal might even have a slight edge on Swarovski, and it's about 60% of the cost. Now, there's still some durability issues and like some sleek design. It's not quite as sexy. Like, fair enough. If you have unlimited funds, Swarovski's still always the way to go. But like I had that Kawa 88, and I think it retails for American, I want to say $3,600, and the Swaro $3,400, and the Swaro was $4,600. So it was like $1,200 American dollars, which is almost $1,600 Canadian dollars cheaper. And for the optical experience, the Kawa was toe to toe with everything that the Swaro had to offer.
It's really hard to make better crystal, but it's very easy to make better designed ergonomic products.
100%. And they've been making glass. They're originally a Japanese company that got bought by an Austrian company. So their pedigree is right. Like they're in the right place in the world, doing the right thing. So there's a hunting brand that I got a lot of respect for.
Nothing's gone wrong when the German and Japanese have worked together on things before. Nothing.
Never.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, I got a little bit of.
Oh, you're not going to ask me the brand I hate?
Oh, what's the one you hate? Do it.
Oh, Vortex. Fuck Vortex.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, why?
Sorry. I know.
Don't say sorry. I'm curious as to why.
I believe they're shady. I don't believe they are. And here's the thing. When you have, like, one of my biggest gripes in the hunting industry, so my wife owns a magazine, is she introduced me to this term called advertorial, which is when you pay for space and you make it look like editorial, but it's paid for, so it's an advertisement. That is essentially all of hunting. All of these schmucks on YouTube who are running around holding up these products while they hunt and pretending that they're giving you their personal opinions are bought and paid for by those companies. And I don't care if you're sponsored. I don't care if you have product placements in your video. I care when you tell people who trust you that you've tested several different products and this one is the best, but you're getting a paycheck from this one. That I have a serious problem. And it's been going on for far too long. And Vortex is the biggest culprit. Like Steve Ranella will tell you Vortex is the best glass. Greg McHale will tell you Vortex is the best glass. No one on the planet can keep a straight face and tell you Vortex is the best glass. Now, if you want to tell me it's the best value glass, we can start to have a conversation. But when you tell me it's the best glass, you're just lying. And if you're lying, you're trading your integrity for a paycheck. And at that point, I say, fuck you. Now, Vortex is the one that is incentivizing them to do this. They're not just placing products. They're asking them to say these things about these products. Plus, I've reviewed a ton of Vortex. Their marketing material is obtuse. They use proprietary gibberish jargon terminology for everything under the sun. Like when I was looking at Swaro, Zeiss, Maven, Kawa, and Vortex, and I was trying to find out like fluorite contents of glass and magnesium properties of armored casings and, what the rubber was made of for eye cups. Every single one of those companies, just open up the website. The shit's just listed there. You go to Vortex and it's like this gibbledy gobbedy gook of just this. And it's just like, just tell me what it is. Like, why has everything got to be bullshit? And it's got to be bullshit because it's cheap junk. And you're spending so much on marketing to push it. Now, all of this being said, with the lifetime warranty and some of their products, like I think the Razor HDs aren't a bad set of binoculars. Their spotting scope is not good. I can't say the spotting scope is good, but like those Razor HDs are not bad binoculars. But don't try and say that they're like an EL from Swaro or a Victory SF from Zeiss. Like it's just bullshit. And so that bothers me, man. Like that is the ethos of your very brand. And if what you stand for is feeding bullshit to people, then I'm going to call you out every chance I get because I don't have time for that. Like I know these people on a first name basis that like you guys, they're working, they got young families. We all have limited budgets. We spend a shitload of time and energy making these decisions about the gear we want to buy. And when we have people that we've been told we can trust openly lying to us about shit, like it's just fuck off, man. It's just stop it. Like make an advertisement look like an advertisement and let editorial look like an editorial. Like it's enough. Stop it.
So yeah, I'm guessing you're not bought and paid for by Vortex or
I refuse any and all sponsorships from anybody. I've never accepted. That doesn't mean people don't send me free gear, but every company that sends me free gear is warned that I may rip it apart. There are no guarantees given for any of my reviews. I'm open and honest about the products that I'm given. I usually, after one season, end up giving them away to the members of Mindful Reviews. And it costs money to belong to Mindful Reviews. It's only $5 a month, but I'm honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a really interesting thing. Like, and I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, and this will be the last thing that I go on, but I was talking about this the other day. You have a brand, you have a product, and you have a consumer. And so most people think they're the consumer and they're actually the product. So when you're watching YouTube and you're watching a YouTube video or you're listening to like a major sponsored podcast, you think you're the consumer of this content, but you're not. You're the product that's being sold to the brand. And the podcast host or the YouTube influencer is selling your time, attention, and your wallet to that brand in exchange for money to convince you to go buy something. And so the first thing I like to say to everybody, and I know this from like the data world, like if you get an app for free, that app ain't free. It's tracking where you're going. It's sending analytics to somewhere. Like you are the product. Like if you're not paying for something, you are most likely the product. And I think what people need to realize in the hunting industry is that you've been living under the illusion that you're the consumer when actually you're the one that's being sold to the brands.
That makes sense.
Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that was very insightful.
Okay, I mean, mindful reviews. I have not heard about that. What
Matt, hang on. We just got to do a word from our sponsor, Vortex.
Awkward.
Okay, here's the 5-minute pitch for Mindful Reviews. So I started a community platform 6 months ago. It's a membership-based community platform, and we do this to keep out the trolls. There's a monthly, annual, or lifetime subscription. Now, when you join Mindful Reviews, no matter what membership you use, you get instant access to the community. We have over 160 members already. There's forums. You can chat with people. If you're thinking about a new piece of gear to buy, you post what you're looking at. Everybody chimes in with their experience. It's like a personalized rock slide without the trolls in that regard. Now, the benefits come once a month. I do a major gear review, and I raffle off 1 or 2 of the winning pieces of gear. So when I did the spotting scope review, I raffled off a Swaro ATX 85 millimeter. So it's about a $6,000 scope. Tickets were $40. I sell 125 tickets to cover the $6,000 that I had to go pay for the scope. Nobody gave me the scope, no sponsored bullshit. And I'm just looking to break even because I needed to get the scope to review it. And you have to be a member to buy the raffle tickets. So sold 125 raffle tickets, and one Mindful Review member who bought 1 ticket for $40 went home with a $6,000 spotting scope. Next week, I'm comparing the Stone Glacier Solus 1-person 4-season tent against the Hilleberg Solo 4-season 1-person tent. I've taken them both on multiple solo goat hunts. I will compare them both. I'll do a big hour-long crazy technical review like I always do. And at the end, I will raffle off both those tents. Tickets are going to be $25 a piece. And you won't know. You just buy a ticket. And then I just buy 2 winners. So if you won, you don't know which one. So that's the other thing that gets you. And then finally, for the lifetime members, once a month, I draw a prize that's valued at about $500 US. I happen to have this month's prize right here. So this is a brand new slick 634 tripod with a Wiser Precision Nighthawk PH170 ultralight panhead, valued at about, I don't know, $550, $600 US for the pair. And at the end of the month, I just put all the lifetime members' names in a hat and I pick one out and they win this. And Mindful Reviews was my attempt to say fuck you to the system, that I was fed up with the way that people were being lied to. And then I'm like, put your money where your mouth is. If you think this is broken, do something better. So Mindful Reviews is my way. I still got to make a living. I want to do this full time. I want to hunt. I want to review gear, and I want to help people become better hunters and buy better gear. How do I do that? I'm going to start a community. I'm going to be honest with you. And it's, you pay to join. I'll take your money. I'll buy gear with it. I'll review it, and we'll create a big ass community of no bullshit together. So that's what Mindful Reviews is.
That's fucking awesome.
That's a great idea. I love it. Yeah.
Mindful-reviews.com.
Mindful-reviews.com.
/Vortex.
So good. So good.
Oh, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I was also wondering about Mindful Reviews, so that's actually a very informative.
Yeah, and it's the power comes as we grow. Like watching it get bigger and bigger, and having other people who even know more than I do kind of come in and help everybody out, and like, you know, guys like yourself. Like it's mostly people. Like there are some legitimate killers in there, but I'm not going to lie. Like most of it is guys in their 3rd, 4th, and 5th years who are like kind of figuring stuff out. And want a place to go where they can ask questions and not get yelled at and not have people, bark down at them in a condescending tone. And it's like, that's the type of community that I'm building. And then let's try and win some free shit while we're doing it.
That's cool.
So not Reddit or Twitter.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Hence the paywall. Like,
Yeah.
that's another thing. So I come from like this behavioral sciences background, and there's a lot of research that there's a reason you should have to pay to get into something, because people just don't value shit that's free, and they treat it as such.
Totally.
I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing, right? Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Okay. Got a couple quick kind of trivia terms, things that we're going to ask you what they mean.
Let's do it.
Some of them are BC related. Some of them are Alberta related. Some of them are hunting related. Some of them are easy. Some of them are dumb.
All right.
All right. First one. Skookum.
Oh. How
What does
do I
skookum mean?
describe skookum? I mean, it's good. If something's skookum, it means it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Poco.
Oh, Port Coquitlam.
Okay.
That's where my
Abby?
gym is. Abbotsford.
I didn't know
There
that.
you
Okay. Yeah.
What's a buckle bunny?
Oh, is that a rodeo chick? A girl who follows dudes on the rodeo? That's got to be an Alberta term. So we
That's
sure
the
don't say
Alberta
that
one,
shit.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
That one's straight Berta.
That's awesome.
Okay. Hunker.
Like hunker down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only threw that in because Scott fucking hates that term, and I don't know why. It's like
Fuck. Oh.
it's pretty industry
I don't know
standard, I feel. Okay, spiker.
Oh, little deer. Little spike. Spike buck.
Yeah, little one point.
Yeah.
Push and bush. I'll take both definitions.
I'm going to go, it could be, I'm just kind of pulling this out of my ass. One could just be hiking through thick bush. The other one I'm thinking maybe could be a deer drive. Like push and bush to scare them out into somebody who's watching.
Yep,
That's it.
that's the one. This one's a little bit gear related, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, but hey, what is a reticle?
Okay, so the reticle, there's a different kinds of reticles, but it is essentially the shape or the line or the figure that is in your scope that allows you to choose where the shot placement goes. I have a fire dot reticle in my loophole, and it's simply 2 crosshairs with a red dot in the middle.
Nailed it. Yeah, I knew these were too easy. Okay, last one. In this one, you have to use it in a sentence.
Okay.
Use the word chuchin in a sentence.
I'm stumped on chuchin?
This determines whether the shirt you get has sleeves or not sleeves.
Do I look like a guy who wants sleeves on my shirt?
It also cuts off right about.
Oh yeah, right. Look, little crop top.
Yeah.
I gotta tap out on that one, man. I don't even know what chuchin.
Just make something up. Go for it.
It was a chuchin good time.
Yep.
Oh.
That works.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
pretty
take it.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we use it just as like it's going. Like
All right.
if you're fermenting
going.
beer and it's fermenting,
happening.
it's chuchin. If your
chuchin.
fire's raging, it's
Chuchin.
chuchin. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
we had a pretty chuchin conversation. It was
Yeah.
going. It was good. Yeah. Oh, you win.
Awesome.
You want a T-shirt?
Congratulations.
Fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. This has been really great. Thank you for agreeing to come on and chat with us and share your experiences and your insights, which were many more than our own insights.
Oh my
That's
god!
right.
Yeah.
Is my pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
And how are your knees still together? I still don't understand.
Oh my god.
Bubblegum and duct tape, my friend.
When's your bodybuilding competition?
June 3rd. I
June.
got 5 weeks and 5 days to go.
Oh man, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Wish you the
Yeah,
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go sign up for Mindful Reviews.
Please do.
Yeah,
Love
I
to
like-
have you.
I like stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely keep following you and be chatting online with you. Hopefully.
Appreciate it. And thanks again for inviting me on. And make sure, send me the link or whatever when it's posted, and I'll make sure to give it some love on social media. I really appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
again, guys. It was great meeting you all. I really appreciate this.
You too,
Absolute
man.
pleasure. Have
All
a
right.
great night.
You too.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
lads.
Bye.
What a
Good.
nice guy.
Beauty, I think, is the term that one is.
Yeah. So we've never said so little in a whole hour and a half, right?
Man.
Yeah. What an intelligent, what a nice guy. Like I cannot, I totally understand how he has such a great following on his podcast. He can talk.
Mm-hmm.
He's mindful. He's just a genuine. Yeah. What a gem.
Vastly better than anything that at everything than us. See,
Right.
even that
Yeah.
sentence I couldn't even get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he accomplishes for real what the three of us try to do all together, but he does it by himself.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We've never accomplished anything close to what he does. So
You're
we
right, yeah.
we tried to do a little bit, and he just like, I'm gonna do it year after year, and I'm gonna kill 6 things in a year by traveling around and just
Man, the amount of hunts
The
he's done in the
idea-
U.S. Bananas.
Yeah,
I didn't
the
realize
idea
it was
of
so
taking a boat to
sim-
Maui and shooting something with it is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh yeah, I just did that. I was there for like 3 days, and I went and murdered something, and then took it home." I planned for a
Brilliant.
year to go hunting with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you do?
Terribles. One time I forgot bullets.
We eventually went back to town and got new bullets.
That's true. Well, yeah. Mindful reviews, mindful hunter. Jay Nichols, absolute beauty. And I guess on that note, we only have one thing left to say, Matt.
Keep on chooching.
Keep on chooching. Hey, nobody. Don't forget to check out mutteringpines.com for our line of apparel and follow us on social and anywhere you listen to or watch your favorite podcasts. And remember, keep on chooching.